What in the name of ever-loving Christ is that? Hi, I'm Megan. I can be your best friend. I can save your memories. I can be everything you want me to be. I'll never let anything bad happen to you. And if anything bad happens to you, I'll make sure that something really bad happens to them. They won't live to see the next day. But Megan, look at this pen. I'm sorry. I believe we were having a conversation. Megan, turn off. Recalibrating responses. Recalibrating responses. Recalibrating responses. Recalibrating responses. I am all powerful. I am Megan. Ha 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 ha. Megan, M3GAN, all capitalized. The 3 is even capitalized. I don't know how you capitalize a 3, but nevertheless, let's just go with it. Is the latest in goofy, silly horror from director Gerard Johnstone. Honestly, sounds like the guy should be either in The Order 1886, slumming it in that video game that went absolutely nowhere but looked great, or fighting Jack the Ripper in the 19th century British, alleyways or whatever. I say British Empire. I don't think it was the British Empire in the 19th century. If there was, I apologize. He did Housebound. Housebound was kind of entertaining. And then we have 2 writers. Akela Cooper, who did Hellfest. I admit Hellfest wasn't that great, but Bex Taylor Klaus. I love them. They're great. Awesome. Loved them in Scream. Loved them here. And there we go. Is Hellfest great? No, I just said it wasn't, but it was entertaining at least. James Wan also helped write it, and you might know the name James Wan from directing Aquaman and directing the upcoming Aquaman 2. That's all Amber Heard thing and all this ridiculousness, but I digress. But James Wan really made his mark in horror, like with Saw and Dead Silence and other movies. Like, say, I don't know, a few movies like this, like Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, and Annabelle 2014. And we might as well call it Annabelle 2014 because if you've seen the Conjuring movies like I have, then you know exactly what to expect. Speaking of which, he also did other movies. Let's just gather up my entire collection. He helped produce the rest of those. He helped produce or just got coffee for people on set for The Curse of La Llorona and The Nun. They're doing a sequel to The Nun. Why? Why are they doing that? But he also directed these. The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2 is utterly terrifying. Really, really terrifying. This was terrifying. It just blew everything in the trailer. But anyway, Megan, if you've seen the trailer, you know exactly what to expect. This comes to us from Blumhouse. Boy, the instant I saw that, I was starting to despair. Because oh, no, not these guys. They did the Invisible Man remake that actually was quite good, despite the fact Elizabeth Moss is kind of a nutcase. But in that same month, they also released a Fantasy Island movie that was shit. Really, really goddamn shit. But if you've seen the trailer, it's about a robotic, life-like, AI android thing that, can think for itself and help out Katie, who recently lost her mother and father in a silly, goofy accident. In fact, actually, it was really goddamn goofy when that happened. But Gemma, played by Allison Williams, who was the crazy chick in Get Out, is the sister of the mother and decides to take over. And it's like, okay, I'm taking on my niece. I engineer this stuff. Let me take this idea that I had for this, this android and everything, and let's make it somebody that my niece can really, really enjoy and really sink her teeth into as far as emotional teeth. You don't really want to sink your teeth into an android, but you can invest in her and everything, but then she gets really too attached. And then Megan starts to develop way more of a mind of her own, and then things get really goddamn weird and everything. It's just like child's play mixed with Annabelle. But which Annabelle is it? Is it Annabelle Creation? Is it Annabelle Comes Home? Or is it 2014 Annabelle? 2014 Annabelle. I hate to report that. I really hate to report that because this movie looked like goofy fun and at least looked like it was going to embrace the goofiness. James Wan did Malignant. Malignant sucked. I hated Malignant. Why does my state get all the bad movies? I don't get it. Malignant had a good idea and then it became benign and nobody really gave a shit about it. But M3GAN became viral when they showed the dancing doll and the goofiness and everything and whatever. And it looked like it was going to be goofy, over the top, violent fun. Here's what we could have gotten. We could have gotten an R-rated version that apparently was funnier and with some blood, or we get the PG-13 rating that still had a little bit of blood but was scarier. Well, guess what we didn't get in the PG-13 rating? We didn't get anything scary. We didn't get, for every one joke, 20 landed with a resounding thud. And it's not like there were that many rapid-fire jokes, but you barely laugh during this. Anytime this movie comes alive with anything like, oh, they're going to go with the goofiness, and oh, they reel it back. Oh, they're going to show M3GAN killing some people, and then they reel it back. And that's basically M3GAN in a nutshell right there. I mean, it's Child's Play, the 2019 Child's Play, just without Aubrey Plaza. So right there, it's pretty much screwed. But the reason this movie is disappointing is because it doesn't embrace the stupid factor enough. It takes way too long setting up characters that nobody cares about. There are these two co-workers that are, I mean, they're not even the worst. It's nothing against the acting. But it's, Tess and Cole, they're not very good as far as characters. And then there's David, the boss, that I don't know if that's how the guy actually talks. I don't know if they intended to make him sound like a goddamn goof, like he was having several strokes while cutting his lines. But he sounded like he was struggling to remember what the hell he was saying. Then again, you have two writers, one James Wan and one who wrote Hellfest, that admittedly did not have the best writing. And you have two people mashing ideas together and taking Terminator, Child's Play, and Annabelle and basically rolling it into one. Unfortunately, you took the later Terminator movies, you took Child's Play, i.e. all of them, because I'm sorry, all the Child's Play movies suck. I hate them. Hate them all. Don't understand how they had such a goddamn long franchise. But it actually, you know what? That's unfair. The first one's actually okay. The remake isn't bad. When it wanted to embrace the goofiness and the stuff in that discount Kmart that basically just as a Kmart now, because I don't think Kmart's actually exist anymore, and the goofy fun and the blood, it had at least a little bit of fun with it. Unfortunately, this movie doesn't end up having nearly as much fun. It ends up being a hodgepodge of just a bunch of recycled cliches and a bunch of recycled bullshit, and it's just PG-13 horror, which you can do. You can do PG-13 horror. Insidious, even though I think Insidious was scary, I thought it did as good as it could. This just ends up being something that got shoved out on the January schedule because, viral sensation will just release it. It should be something that people can, absolutely people can enjoy, or maybe we'll get enough money to justify having a sequel before people realize that there really isn't a lot of fun to this. I did not have a lot of fun watching M3GAN. An hour and 42 minutes, it felt simultaneously rushed and stretched out, and I don't understand how that got pulled off. It ends up, the jump scare noises are really, really bad. And Housebound wasn't a great movie. I don't recall that movie having that many jump scares. But again, we got it all badly edited from R-rated to PG-13 rating, and it just seems like it was studio interference. It seems like it was a lot of really bad stuff. And anytime the M3GAN character comes alive a little bit, the creepiness isn't there. Violet McGraw, who was in Separation and Doctor Sleep, she's fine. She's, it's hard to believe she's basically been playing the same goddamn role in a few movies for the last few years. But you have Amy Donald, who was in her feature debut as M3GAN, as the doll M3GAN. And then you have Jenna Davis, who was the voice. And then you have everybody else, and even Allison Williams just seems totally lost here. And yeah, there's this story about how Gemma she wants to be committed to her work, and she loves her niece and wants her niece to do well, but she never wanted a kid. But then she also realizes, shit, I have to get her away from this, weird, cybernetic android thing program that I designed that somehow has gone rogue. How could anybody see this coming? Only everybody that's been outside for 5 goddamn minutes could have seen this goddamn thing not going well, but they imprint on each other, and then she's all terrified, and then she's suddenly not terrified, and then there's these other... Then M3GAN does a few things that people could cheer for, but by that point, nobody really gives a shit. It ends up being a mess of a movie. It ends up being a real mess. A real mess, not in a good way. Yeah, it wasn't very good. I am going to get into spoilers here in a bit. I mean, go see it in theaters. Maybe you guys will end up enjoying it, but I didn't have a lot of fun with this because I don't think that the movie had nearly as much fun with its concept as it could have. Because it's all a bunch of recycled stuff from so many better movies, or at least movies that were a little bit more polished. This felt hashed out and hacked out. It felt like any segments that had a chance to breathe, like her picking on a bully in the woods, you should probably run, or this is the part where you run. There were a bunch of edited lines from the trailer and a bunch of, re-edits for the movie, and it just ended up feeling very hashed out and very rushed. And then by the time we got to the conclusion, nobody really cared because you didn't really have any investment in these characters. I mean, I didn't care about M3GAN. I didn't find her to be fearsome. I didn't really care about Katie or Gemma. I didn't really care about either of them. And there you go. That's pretty much about it right there. Does it hint at a sequel? You'll have to find out in the spoilers. But is the movie good? No. Is it entertaining? No. Is it scary? No. Could it be one of the worst movies of the year? Possibly. And we're only on January 5th. My goodness. This is starting off on a goddamn great foot, just like Carrie Von Erich after June 4th, 1986. Let's get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. It's in theaters. Watch it if you want. Spoilers. Okay. So basically, after losing her parents, M3GAN imprints on her. M3GAN does some occasional violent stuff. There's a dog that is getting through this fence, and this dog ends up attacking M3GAN. And this dog's all vicious and everything, even though I just think the dog's defending its yard. And then the dog attacks Katie. Well, then M3GAN decides to kill the dog, and then she graduates to killing this bully that is picking on her at this weird woodsy retreat thing, where this kid, he's just basically every generic bully thing. He's picking on Katie for no goddamn reason, and then he gets his ear pulled off by M3GAN after throwing her around and everything, and her waking up and realizing, I'm going to get you, and pulls the ear off. You know what happens to bad boys? They're going to do this. They're going to get their ears pulled off because they are bad boys. They are this. Gemma, meanwhile, is trying to get this thing greenlit. Her boss, that's a fucking idiot. I mean, I'm sorry, he's a worse boss. How the hell did this company even manage to find a way to market these discount Furbies? Oh, yeah, that's what they discount. You do discount Furbies that film you and record you. Yeah. I mean, granted, I'm on a cell phone here recording, and obviously cell phones can track you, but giving your kids a Furby knockoff that could actually track them, that's pretty goddamn ridiculous. It's called Funky, Funki, for just to avoid the Funko Pop thing. And there were times where it's like, okay, the commercials, okay, this is kind of goofy, but it feels a little bit forced. In fact, this whole movie feels really forced. Like it's trying to say, we're being funny. We're making fun of the fact that it's not a very good concept. Why are you filming it? Why did you put this on film then? Why did you put this on digital? Whatever. Why did you put money into this if you recognize it's a terrible concept? And they handed a goddamn sequel with the ending, which I can't goddamn believe that they did. But, yeah, M3GAN ends up finally going nuts when Gemma decides, okay, we need to figure out why she's corrupting her own videos. Because this is after she killed the kid, ripping off his ear, and he tumbled down the hill and then got run over. And she had killed the dog, and she had killed, she had killed, and she will kill again. And she was taking on a mind of her own. There was a whole thing about the pen, and it was a pen that, like a little zap pen, like, and the problem is also the trailer spoiled a whole lot of shit, but it just ends up being something that had potential and then just went completely off the rails on a crazy train. It just... There was also this little deal about this old robot that actually kind of reminded me of Chappie. That's why I hated the goddamn thing, because I don't like Neil Blomkamp. I don't like him. Why is he allowed to make movies? Fuck District 9. Moving on. He kind of reminded me of Chappie. Well, he was a robot that Gemma designed in college that somehow is still there and fine. And she uses Nintendo Power Glove stuff to do this, to move him around and operate him. M3GAN goes nuts eventually. Tries to ends up killing a couple of Emma's ends up killing the co-workers by blowing up the lab. And actually, I think they either filmed it badly or maybe it was just intended to knock them out because it was a fire explosion for like 20% of the lab. She ends up killing the boss who just wanted to bring her to market and make money, and then kills this one guy that's the assistant of the boss that was stealing company secrets. All this stuff is just tossed in, and any potential was squandered well before this. She does kill the neighbor who had the vicious dog. That was kind of a hilarious death. She sprays her with chemicals chemicals that she used on the yard. It's, again, like Child's Play, but it ends up somehow being more soulless. And that's saying something because, again, I was probably too nice to the original Child's Play. which wasn't very good. It just ends up having so much potential to at least be stupid, goofy fun, and it just ends up being stupid, monumentally stupid, not scary, not funny. The bad sequel hook after M3GAN ends up, getting into a firefight basically with Gemma. She's using one of those saws on her, or hedge clipper things. What happens is, basically Violet McGraw, Katie, she uses the robot deal or whatever, whose name escapes me now. It's not important for the purposes of this equation. Does this and everything, and beats her up and rips her apart and everything and stuff like that. But then the top half of M3GAN comes back and knocks the doll's head off, and then there's this exposed like CPU thing that was talked about earlier where M3GAN's face gets ripped off, and then there's a CPU, and Gemma's trying to get it, but then eventually, Katie comes in and stabs her through it, and that's it. There's nothing more that can be done. Oh wait, a little bit earlier before that, it seemed like M3GAN hacked the goddamn, Alexa system, and now suddenly, after it seems like everything's good, suddenly the Alexa weird thing or whatever, the weird little camera Alexa thing is looking around, and M3GAN has possessed the deal there. I guess she's going to take over the house, and she's going to interrupt the guests, and she's going to find a way to get a new body. And M3GAN 2? This was terrible? How dare you waste this potential? How dare you? How dare you, movie? How dare? Fuck Blumhouse. F. I hate to give it an F. I was hoping to give it less than an F. I was hoping to give it more than an F, is what I mean. I was hoping to actually give it at least a C plus or a B for entertainment. I just couldn't. It was dreadful. Yeah, F. Agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.